Okay, I'm in the section 4.4. I'm on the simple trinomials examples. So we are going to be factoring trinomials where a is 1 or negative 1. Now, a couple things on here here's what your basic trinomial is going to look like. It's a trinomial because it has 3 terms. Okay, there's one term here, one term here, one term here. There's 3 total terms. Okay, now a couple things that we are going to use on this. Right now in this video we are factoring where a is always going to be 1 for right now. Okay, so before I go through kind of the steps that I have written up here, I'm going to go through a couple things over here as well. If you remember the previous week, I gave you a paper that had you work on finding 2 numbers, for example, that would multiply to be 24 and they would add to be 11. So just really quickly, a couple of things here. Again, they multiply, what 2 numbers multiply to be 24 and they add to be 11. So I need to find out what are the factors of 24. What are 2 numbers that multiply to be 24? Well, I've got 1 times 24. That's kind of an easy one, right? 2 times 12. 3 times 8. 4 times 6. Those are all the numbers that multiply to be 24. Well, I need to find 2 numbers that will multiply to be 24, but they'll also add to be 11. So, for example, if I took and added 1 and 24, that's 25. That's not 11. 2 and 12 is 14. That's not 11. 3 and 8, wait, oh, whoops. 3 and 8 is 11. So these are my 2 pairs of numbers, 3 and 8. 3 times 8, so if you watch here, 3 times 8 is 24. 3 plus 8 is 11. So those are the 2 numbers that add to be 11 and multiply to be 24. The reason I'm telling you that is because what we're going to do here is we are going to do the same kind of concept. There's going to be a whole key to this doing these examples. Okay, so first we have to take a times c. So what we're going to do is we're going to list out our a, b, and c terms. A times c, that's going to go on top. Okay, then b is going to go on the bottom. So I want to find numbers that multiply to be this number and add to be the bottom number, and that's what I'm going to use here. Okay, so once I find those 2 numbers, I'll explain how we're going to do this. So first thing we got to do here in our steps, multiply a times c. Okay, so we're going to list out what's a, what's b, what's c. Find factors of a times c that add to the middle term b. We're going to make our product sum x, just like we just did there. Then we're going to replace the middle term with the 2 factors. It does not matter what order you put those 2 numbers in. It doesn't matter which one you put first or second. Now you have 4 terms. Wait, you're going to factor this by grouping, which is one of the reasons why we learned grouping first. Again, your answer is going to be in the form of 2 binomials, just like that. And we'll talk about step number 6 in the second video. Let's go ahead and let's get through the examples here. All right, so first example. First thing I want to do here every time is I want to identify what is A, what is B, and what is C. Well, in this case, it's always the number that's in front. So I want to know what's the number in front of x squared. Well, there's no number there. But because there's no number there, in this case, A is going to be a 1. B is always the number that's in front of the variable x, which in this case happens to be 9. And then C is always the single constant number out here by itself with no variable, and in this case C is 20. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take what's A times C, this is 20 times 1, that's 20. So I need factors of 20, or numbers that multiply to be 20, and they're going to add to be the number 9. Okay? So they add to be number 9. So now, give me 2 numbers that multiply to be 20 that add to be 9. Well, if I write out the factors of 20, I've got 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3 doesn't go in there, 4 goes in there, 4 and 5. Now, which ones of these add up to be 9, 4, and 5? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and use these 2 numbers. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this middle term and I'm going to split it up 2 different ways. I'm going to split it up to a positive 4x and a positive 5x. Now, I didn't change anything, okay? I didn't change the value of the problem. What I'm changing is I'm changing what it looks like. It's still 9x, but instead of being 9x, I'm writing 4x plus 5x, and then I'm going to carry down what's left. Okay, so what you saw me do there was put parentheses around the first two and the last two terms. And essentially, guys, from here on out, it's exactly what we just did with grouping. So what do these two terms have in common? They both have an x. That's all they have. There's no number that goes into 1 and 4. So I took two x's. I had two x's. I took one out. I still have one left over. Okay. 4 divided by 1 is 4. I had an x. They took it away from me. What's the biggest number that goes into 5 and 20? Well, that happens to be 5. They both don't have x's, so I don't need to take an x out. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. I had an x. They didn't take it. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Okay, and then what do they have in common? They have an x plus 4, both in parentheses. And what's outside the parentheses? X and plus 5. Okay, so this is your final solution for factoring. Okay, so let's go through one more example here for you. And we're going to take a look at number 2. So on this example, again, identify what's A, B, and C. So in this case, A is going to be 1. B is the middle one, which is 14. And C is negative 72. Yes, I do take that symbol with me. So A times C is negative 72. And the B term is 14. Now this one's a little bit more challenging because I've got to end up adding to a positive number but multiplying to a negative number. So with negative 72, the two numbers are going to negative 72. One of them is going to be negative. So I could go negative 1 and 72, but obviously that's not going to add up to 14. Okay, so as I'm looking here at factors of 72, so you know it's not 1 and 72, but as I look at these, I know I have a 4 and an 18. 4 times 18 is 72, but I'm going to go negative on the 18, or I'm going to go negative on the 4, because again, one of these has to be negative. The question is do these two add up to be positive 14? Well, no, they don't. They add up to be negative 14, so those guys are out and these two are in. So my two numbers are negative 4 and positive 18. Okay, so again, I'm going to take this middle term and we're going to separate it. So it's going to be negative 4x and positive 18x. Bring down the negative 72, bring down the x squared. And now I can go through first two terms, last two terms, take out an x here, left with an x minus 4. Take out an 18. The biggest number that goes into 18 and 72 is 18. And then I end up with 1x left over here. It's negative 72 divided by 18 is negative 4. So then my two terms, x minus 4 and x plus 18. Okay, so now you should be able to complete your page 1 class kick examples.